वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 81, the Lord blesses Sudama Brahman. Text number 12 onwards. Brahmanastam tu rajnim ushitva achyut mandire bhaktva pitva sukhamene atmanam swargatam yatha. So yesterday we discussed how Krishna forcibly took the flat rice from Sudama's side, and Krishna ate one palmful of that flat rice. He was about to eat the other palmful, but Rukmini Devi stopped him. Different reasons Acharyas gave. So further, Shukdev Goswami is saying, Shukdev Goswami continued, the Brahman spent that night in Lord Achyuta's palace after eating and drinking to his full satisfaction. He felt as if he had gone to the spiritual world. Shvabhute Vishwabhavena Swasukhena Bivandita Jagama Swalayam Tata Pati Anuvrajya Nandita. The next day, Sudama set off for home while being honored by Lord Krishna, self-satisfied maintainer of the universe. The Brahman felt greatly delighted, my dear king, as he walked along the road. According to Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, the word Abhivandita indicates that Shri Krishna accompanied Sudama on the road for a short distance and finally parted with the Brahman after bowing down to him and speaking some respectful words. Sacha labdhva dhanam Krishna natu yachitvan swayam so grihan vridito agachan mahad darshan anirvritaha. Although he had apparently received no wealth from Lord Krishna, Sudama was too shy to beg for it on his own. He simply returned home feeling perfectly satisfied to have had the Lord's audience. So Krishna didn't give him any money, anything. But Sudama was completely satisfied. I had Krishna's audience, I met Krishna, that is good enough for me. He was not greedy, he's a real Brahman. Brahmins are satisfied with whatever they have. Not at all greedy. Aho Brahmanya Devasya Drishta Brahmanyata Maya Yadaridritamo Lakshmi Ashlishto Bibrator Asi. Sudama thought Lord Krishna is known to be devoted to the Brahmins, and now I have personally seen this devotion. Indeed, he who carries the goddess of fortune on his chest has embraced this poorest beggar. Kwaham daridra papiyan, kwa Krishna Shri Niketana, Brahma Bandhuriti Snaham, Bahubhyam Parirambita. Who am I? A sinful, poor friend of a Brahman. So he is saying, I'm not even a Brahman, I'm a friend of a Brahman. And who is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full in 6 opulences. Nonetheless, he has embraced me with his 2 arms. Sudama was so humble that he considered his poverty to be his own fault, a result of sin. Such a mentality is in accord with the saying, Daridra dosho guna rashi nashi. The discrepancy of being poor ruins heaps of good qualities. So if somebody has good qualities but he is poor, nobody respects him. Nobody. But Krishna is different. Krishna honored him. He washed his feet. He made him sit on his bed. Queen Rukmini was fanning. That is Krishna. Material world, everybody thinks differently because they want to see their own benefit. That's all they see. Nivasita priya jushte paryanke bhratro yatha mahishya vijita shanto bal vyajan hastaya. He treated me just like one of his brothers, making me sit on the bed of his beloved consort. And because I was fatigued, his queen personally fanned me with a yak-tailed charmer. शुश्रूषया परमया पाद संवाहनादिभि पूजितो देव देवेन विप्र देवेन देववत्. Although he is the lord of all demigods and the object of worship for all Brahmins, he worshipped me as if I were a demigod myself, massaging my feet and rendering other humble services. Swargapavargayo punsam rasayam bhuvi sampadam sarvasam api siddhinam Moolam Tacharanarchanam. Devotional service to his lotus feet is the root cause of all the perfections a person can find in heaven, in liberation in the subterranean regions and on earth. So that's all we need. And he was very happy. He was thinking, I have that devotion service, and that's all we need. Adhano ayam dhanam prapya madhyanu Nucharnan masmarit iti karuniko nunam dhanam me abhuri nadadat. Thinking if this poor wretch suddenly becomes rich, he will forget me in his intoxicating happiness. The compassionate Lord did not grant me even a little wealth. So this was he was thinking. That, oh, Krishna must have thought, if I become rich, I'll forget him. So let's not give him any money. Sudama's statement that Lord Krishna bestowed on him not even a little wealth may also be taken to mean that instead of giving him wealth that was abhuri or slight, the Lord in fact gave him the immense treasure of his association. See, this association or the night that he spent there in Dwarka with Krishna, this Sudama will never ever forget. And that's it. That's the association. That's a remembrance of Krishna. That's what one needs to do. Iti tachintayanantaha prapto niya grihantikam suryan lendu sankashar vimane sarvato vritam vichitro pavano dhyane kucha dvijkula kule prota fullak mudamboja kahlarot palvari bhi Jushtam swalankritah pumbhi stribhish harinakshibhi kimidam kasya vasthanam katham tadidam atiyabhutam. Shukdev Goswami continued, thinking thus to himself, Sudama finally came to the place where his home stood. But that place was now crowded on all sides with towering celestial palaces rivaling the combined brilliance of the sun, fire, and the moon. There were splendorous courtyards and gardens, each filled with flocks of queen birds and beautified by ponds, in which Kumud, Ambhoj, Kahlar, and Utpal lotuses grew. Finely attired men and doe-eyed women stood in attendance. Sudama wondered, what's all this? Whose property is this? How has this all come about? Now, what is impossible for Krishna? Nothing. If we have to build something, we first have to find a piece of land, buy that land somehow, get the registration done, get the plans passed, and then do the construction, which will take forever. Krishna doesn't need anything like that. Just by his desire, everything can be done. Srila Sridhar Swami gives the sequence of the Brahman's thoughts. First, seeing a great, unfamiliar effulgence, he thought, what is this? Then, noting the palaces, he asked himself, whose place is this? And recognizing it as his own, he wondered, how has it become so transformed? Evam iman samanam tam nara naryo amar prabha pratyagrihan mahabhagam gitavadyena bhuyasa. As he continued to ponder in this way, the beautiful men and maid servants, as effulgent as demigods, came forward to greet their greatly fortunate master with loud song and instrumental music. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the word pratyagraham indicates that first Sudama accepted the servants within his mind, deciding, my Lord must want me to have them. And in response to the visible change in his attitude, they approached him as their master. Patim agatam akarnya patanya uddharshati sambrama nishchakram grihaturnam Rubini Shri Rivalaya. When she heard that her husband had arrived, the Brahman's wife quickly came out of the house in a jubilant flurry. She resembled the goddess of fortune herself emerging from a divine abode. So, not only he, just a sec. So not only he transformed the land or the where they had the hut, his wife just got transformed one night only. She transformed her. She looked like the goddess of fortune. So everyone living there now possessed beautiful bodies and attire appropriate to the residents of heaven. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds that the night before, the Sudama's poor, emaciated wife had been sleeping in rags under a crumbling roof. But when she woke in the morning, she found herself and her house wonderfully changed. Only for a moment she was confused. She then realized that this opulence was the Lord's gift to her husband, who must be on his way home. Thus she prepared to greet him. Pativrata patim drishtva premut kanthashrulochana militakshan mad buddhya manasa parishasvaje. When the chaste lady saw her husband, her eyes filled with tears of love and eagerness. As she held her eyes closed, she solemnly bowed down to him, and in her heart she embraced him. Patnim viksha visfurantim devim vemanikim mava dasinam nishka kantinam madhya bhantim savismita. Sudama was amazed to see his wife, shining forth in the midst of maidservants adorned with jeweled lockets. She looked as effulgent as a demigoddess in a celestial airplane. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that up to now, Supreme Lord had kept the Brahman in his wretched state so that his wife could recognize him. So if he had changed Sudama Vipra also, wife might not have recognized him. But so far, he was the same. But even the change happens here also. Prita Swayam Taya Yukta Pravishto Nijamandiram Manistambha Shatopetam Mahendra Bhavanam Yatha. With pleasure, he took his wife with him and entered his house, where there were hundreds of gem-studded pillars, just as in the palace of Lord Mahendra. Sudama was simply astonished at the sight of his wife, as he wondered, who is this demigod's wife who has approached such a fallen soul as me? The maidservants informed him, this is indeed your wife. At that very moment, Sudama's body became young and beautiful, bedecked in fine clothing and jewelry. The word Prita here indicates that these changes gave him considerable pleasure. Obviously. Paya fena nibhashaya, danda rukma parichada, paryanka hema dandani, chamar vyajanani cha, asanani cha hemani, Maridu pastarunani cha mukta dama vilambini vitanani divanti cha swacha svatik kudiyeshu mahamarkateshu cha ratna deepana brajamanan lalana ratna samyuta vilokya brahmana satra samriddhi sarva sampadam tarakya mas nirvyagraha swasmriddhim ahatukim. In Sudama's home, were beds as soft and white as the foam of milk, with bedsteads made of ivory and ornamented with gold. There were also couches with golden legs, as well as royal chamber fans, golden thrones, soft cushions, and gleaming canopies hung with strings of pearls. Upon the walls of sparkling crystal glass, inlaid with precious emeralds, shone jeweled lamps, and the women in the palace were all adorned with precious gems. As he viewed his luxurious opulence of all varieties, the Brahman calmly reasoned to himself about his unexpected prosperity. Can we imagine what Krishna gave him? What kind of opulence Krishna bestowed upon him. Nunam batat tanmam durbhagasya shashwadaridrasya samriddhi hetu mahavibhute avalokato anyo navopapadyeta yaduttamasya. Sudama thought, I have always been poor. Certainly the only possible way that such an unfortunate person as myself could become suddenly rich is that Lord Krishna, the supremely opulent chief of the Yadu dynasty, has glanced upon me. Nanva bruvano dishate samaksham yachishnave bhuri api bhuri bhoja parjanya vatatasve swayamikshmano dasharha kanam rishabha sakhame. After all, my friend Krishna, the most exalted of the Dasharas and the enjoyer of the unlimited wealth, noticed that I secretly intended to beg from him. Thus, even though he said nothing about it when I stood before him, he actually bestowed upon me the most abundant riches. In this way, he acted just like a merciful rain cloud. Shri Krishna is Bhuri Bhoja, the unlimited enjoyer. He did not tell Sudama how he was going to fulfill his unspoken request because according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Krishna was thinking at that time, my dear friend has given me these grains of rice which are greater than all the treasures I own. Even though in his own house he had no such gift to bring me, he took the trouble of begging it from a neighbor. Therefore, it's only proper that I give him something more valuable than all my possessions. But nothing is equal to or greater than what I possess. So all I can do is give him such meager things as the treasures of Indra, Brahma, and other demigods. So he's saying, I cannot give him greater than what I possess. Just give him something little. Embarrassed at being unable to properly reciprocate his devotees' offering, Lord Krishna bestowed his favor on the Brahmins silently. The Lord acted just like a magnanimous rain cloud, which provides the necessities of life for everyone near and far, but feels ashamed that its rain is too insignificant a gift to give in return for the abundant offerings that farmers make to it. So the clouds feel shy. Out of shame, the cloud may wait until nighttime when the farmers are asleep before watering their fields. So the cloud feels shy because the farmers, they do so much of labor and provide necessities of life for everyone. And clouds say, we just give them some rain, that's all we give. This is our service for the farmers. So similarly, Krishna is thinking, this Sudama, he gave me everything that he had. And that too, he didn't have even begging from his neighbors. And here I have everything, what I can give him. It's amazing. That's why Krishna, first of all, he's a person. He's not impersonal, not Nirvikar, then some Jyoti, there's a Supreme Lord is some Jyoti, Nirvikar, no form, nothing. That's not. He is a person and he is a person with full of emotions, full of gratefulness for whatever little service that we can render to him. He never forgets, never. He just tries to find a way to reciprocate with his devotees. Kinchit karotir upapi yat swadattam suhrit kratam falgva api bhurikari mayo panitam prithu kyakamushtim pratyagrihita priti yuto mahatma. The Lord considers even his greatest benedictions to be insignificant, while he magnifies even a small service rendered to him by his well-wishing devotee. Thus, with pleasure, the Supreme Lord accepted a single palmful of the flat rice I brought him. This is what Sudama is thinking. Tasyav me sohrid sakya matri dasyam punar janmani janmani sya mahan bhavena gunalena vijaschastat purusha prasangaha. The Lord is a supremely compassionate reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Life after life, may I serve him with love, friendship, and sympathy. And may I cultivate such firm attachment for him by the precious association of his devotees. So this is the mood of a devotee. He just wants to serve the Lord. He doesn't want to ask anything. Whether he gives or not, it's up to him. But he wants to serve with love, friendship, and sympathy, and in the association of devotees. As explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sohridam here signifies affection toward him, who is so compassionate to his devotees. Sakhyam is affinity manifested in the desire to live in his company. Maitri is the attitude of intimate comradeship, and Dasyam is the urge to do service. Bhaktaya Chitra Bhagavan hi sampado Rajyam Vibhutirna Samarthyat Yajaha Adirga Bodhaya Vichakshana Swayam Pashyan Nipatam Dhaninam Madodbhavam. To a devotee who lacks spiritual insight, the Supreme Lord will not grant the wonderful opulences of this world, kingly power and material assets. Indeed, in his infinite wisdom, the unborn Lord well knows how the intoxication of pride can cause the downfall of the wealthy. And it happens. So it's not that if some devotee is wealthy or he has been given some opulence by the mercy of Krishna, it's not that he's out of that madness that wealth can create. It can be, but it not necessarily. So we just have to be careful, and we have to always introspect ourselves. Where am I at? Where am I standing and where am I going? As explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the humble Brahman Sudama considered himself unworthy of the Supreme Lord's most rare and valuable benediction, pure devotional service. He reasoned that if he had any true devotion, the Lord would have granted him perfect, unflinching devotion rather than the material riches and servants he had received. Lord Krishna would have protected a more serious devotee by denying him such distractions. The Lord will give a sincere but less intelligent devotee not as much material wealth as he desires, but only what will promote his devotional progress. So many times, and Krishna and Srila Prabhupada has quoted that verse so many times, Yasyam anugranami harishyat dhanam shanaya. And that's why people don't like to worship Krishna. Krishna just takes away everything that a devotee has to make him fully surrender. But look at in this case, Sudama, how much opulence he gave him. So it's not that Krishna likes to make everybody poor and pauper. No. He wants devotional service. That's all. And then he can give whatever he wants to give. Itham vyavasito buddhya bhakto ativa janardane vishayanjayaya yakshan babuje nati lampata. Shukdev Goswami continued. Thus firmly fixed his determination by means of his spiritual intelligence, Sudama remained absolutely devoted to Lord Krishna, the shelter of all living beings. Free from avarice, he enjoyed together his wife the sense pleasures that had been bestowed upon him, always with the idea of eventually renouncing all sense gratification. So this is how devotee sees any opulence. He's not attached, free from avarice, free from any attachment. He enjoyed, but the idea is eventually he's going to renounce everything. And as it says, Sudama remained absolutely devoted to Krishna. Absolutely. There was no change at all in his devotion service. Tasya deva devasya harer yagya pate prabhavo brahmana prabhavo devam natebhya vidyate param. Lord Hari is the God of all gods, the master of all sacrifices, and the supreme ruler. But he accepts the saintly Brahmins as his masters, and so there exists no deity higher than them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that even though Shri Krishna is the supreme ruler of creation, he accepts the Brahmins as his masters, even though he is a god of all gods. This is how much he loves Brahman. Brahman means devotees. Evam savipro bhagvat suhritadda drishtva svabhritya rajitam parajitam tad dhyana vego grajitatma bandhanas tad dham lebe achirita satam gatim. Thus, seeing how the unconquerable Supreme Lord is nonetheless conquered by his own servants, the Lord's dear Brahman friend felt the remaining knots of material attachment within his heart being cut by the force of his constant meditation on the Lord. In a short time, he attained Lord Krishna's supreme abode, the destination of great saints. Sudama's earthly fortune has been described, and now Shukdev Goswami describes the treasure the Brahman enjoyed in the next world. Srila Jiva Goswami mentions that Sudama's last trace of illusion lay in the subtle pride of being a renounced Brahman. This trace was also destroyed by his contemplating the Supreme Lord's submission to his devotees. So something was there that had to be purified. That he was a very renounced Brahman, maybe some pride was there. Etad brahmanya devasya shrutva brahmanyatam narah labdha bhavo bhagavati karma bandha vimuchyate. The Lord always shows Brahmans special favor. Anyone who hears his account of the Supreme Lord's kindness to the Brahmans will come to develop love for the Lord and thus become freed from the bondage of material birth. So this is a Shrutifal. Prabhupada says the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul of all living entities, knows everyone's heart very well. We cannot cheat. He is especially inclined to the Brahman devotees. Lord Krishna is also called Brahmanya Deva, which means that he is worshipped by the Brahmins. Therefore, it is understood that a devotee who is fully surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead has already acquired the position of a Brahman. Without becoming a Brahman, one cannot approach the Supreme Brahman, Lord Krishna. Krishna is especially concerned with vanquishing the distress of his devotees, and he is the only shelter of a pure devotee. So thus ends the purpose to 10th canto, 81st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Blesses Sudama Brahman. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.